Welcome to This Explainer. So over the past couple of weeks, there's been this massive question rippling through the AI automation community. And honestly, it's creating quite a bit of anxiety. People are asking, is N8N dead? If you've been watching the landscape lately, you've probably seen the panic. Everyone's wondering if it's time to just abandon ship and switch their entire workflow over to Claude Code. Well, spoiler alert. Take a deep breath. It's really not. Today, we're going to put all that internet hype aside. I'm going to give you a true, expert technical consultants framework for evaluating these two tools. We're diving into the hard data, looking at actual deployment realities, and we'll build a highly strategic matrix for your infrastructure that puts long-term stability way ahead of fleeting trends.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our agenda for this explainer covers 1. The market interest shift, 2. Visual learning for beginners, 3. Deployment and maintenance realities, 4. AI as a technical tutor, 5. Workflow migration and stability, and finally, 6. The 10-minute rule.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the market interest shift. Is N8N actually dying?
All right, we need to address the elephant in the room here. If you've been paying attention to the automation space over the last year, you know N8N was basically in absolute hypergrowth mode. I mean, viral use cases were literally everywhere. But lately, creators and users are noticing a pretty distinct shift. N8N video views have been dropping rapidly. And there's this very real panic in the community that less attention somehow means the tool is losing its functional value. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why. Looking at this Google Trends data over the past 3 months, we see that for a good while, N8N and Claude Code were running pretty much hand in hand in search interest. But recently, Claude Code suddenly surpassed N8N. Now, there's this seriously flawed association online right now where people equate search interest and view counts directly with a tool's core utility. But I'm here to tell you, a drop in virality absolutely does not mean a tool is fundamentally dead. N8N has carved out a highly solid corner in the market, and its underlying technology hasn't just suddenly broken just because people are Googling a shiny new object.
To really ground ourselves in reality, let's listen to this quote straight from the source material. It says, "I don't know where the AI space is going. No one does. Even the experts are scared." Look, the automation landscape is moving incredibly fast right now. Frankly, there is so much going on that it's literally impossible to predict every single turn. But as a consultant, my core advice to you is this. Don't look at this current market shift as a mandate to just switch entirely from N8N over to Claude Code. Instead, see this as an opportunity. It's a chance to expand your toolset. Expanding your skills across different platforms is always going to be a smarter, safer play than completely abandoning proven, stable platforms just out of fear.
Moving right along to Section 2, visual learning for beginners. Where should you actually be starting?
So, in the middle of all this rapidly changing tech, where's the best place for a beginner to actually begin? Well, the answer remains firmly with N8N. Why? Because at its core, N8N is clear, simple, and incredibly visual. Think about it. When you jump headfirst into Claude Code, you're dealing directly with pure Python scripts. For a beginner, and honestly even for highly tech-savvy folks, it can be super confusing to stare at a dense block of raw code and try to figure out, is this going to successfully automate my business, or did I just accidentally email my grocery list to all my top clients? N8N gives you a visual mental model that drastically lowers that barrier to entry. You can physically see your data moving from one node to the next. That visual clarity makes it far easier to wrap your head around complex automation concepts, which is exactly why N8N is the definitive starting point for building your first workflow or AI agent. Section 3, deployment and maintenance realities. Let's talk about the hard truth of publishing and tracking.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the contrast between building something and actually maintaining it. Getting an AI to brainstorm with you and magically spin up a quick Python script, that feels amazing in the moment. But taking that script, deploying it safely, and maintaining it over time, that's where you hit the real friction point. With N8N, when you finish building your visual workflow, you literally have a one-click publish button. You get native webhooks pulling data in, built-in triggers, incredibly clear visual execution logs, and you can push data straight into a simple Google Sheet with zero hassle. But Claude Code's deployment reality? It's much more ambiguous. Trying to confidently schedule those hard-to-contextualize Python scripts or actively tracking execution data to figure out exactly what broke at 2 in the morning, it's just significantly harder. That pure code-based mental model simply creates a way higher degree of daily maintenance friction compared to N8N's totally transparent visual logs.
All right, Section 4, AI as a technical tutor. Let's look at a completely different way to use this tech.
So just because Claude Code introduces some deployment friction doesn't mean we just toss it out the window. Not at all. Instead, we're going to use a specific, highly effective consulting methodology to reframe it as an incredibly advanced learning assistant. Here's the play. Step 1. Set up your project files so the AI actually has direct context about what you're working on. Step 2. Let the AI deeply understand you and your specific business needs. Now, Step 3 is the absolute critical one. Instead of just blindly copying and pasting the code it spits out, carefully read its logic trail. Really watch what the AI is thinking as it generates the solution. And then Step 4. Actively question it. If you're confused by a step it took, just ask it, "Hey, what did you just do there? What happens if you don't do that?" By using Claude Code to help you deeply understand coding concepts, you're successfully turning an ambiguous deployment tool into your own highly personalized technical tutor. It's a total game changer.
Section 5. Workflow migration and stability. This is all about choosing stability over hype. Okay, if N8N is for building visually and Claude Code is for learning, what on earth do you do with all the workflows you've already built? $10. I want you to keep this specific number in mind because it represents the foundational logic of your infrastructure stability moving forward. See, $10 a month is typically what it costs to run a virtual private server, or a VPS, which keeps your existing N8N automations running smoothly in the background. As a consultant, my strict advice here is super clear. If you have workflows that are already proven to function perfectly, leave them exactly where they are. Seriously, do not migrate perfectly good N8N workflows over to pure code just to chase a fleeting trend. Think of it like this. It's very similar to how smart businesses have kept their legacy Zapier's apps running successfully for years, even after they brought N8N on board for newer tasks. Keeping your established, reliable workflows on a cheap $10 VPS completely avoids unnecessary migration friction. It protects your existing logic, and most importantly, it prioritizes long-term business scalability over short-term internet hype.
Let's move to Section 6 and see how this builds. The 10-minute rule, an operational heuristic.
This brings us to a really strict operational heuristic for choosing your automation tools on a case-by-case basis. 10. We are anchoring visually on this number one more time today because this is the ultimate, practical takeaway that you can start applying immediately to your own daily business operations.
So, the crucial point is what I call the 10-minute rule. The definition is incredibly simple. If a specific use case takes 10 minutes or less to build in N8N, just do it there. The beauty of this rule is that N8N allows you to leverage your existing muscle memory, unmatched speed, and all that pre-built error tracking. When you can jump in, build something quickly, hit publish, and instantly have all your data tracking and error workflows locked and loaded without overthinking complex code structure, yeah, N8N remains the absolute clear winner for quick, structured, daily tasks.
As we wrap up this explainer, you really have to ask yourself a fundamental question. Are you building to chase trends, or are you building for stability? You know, the automation market is always going to have shiny new tools that temporarily spike in search interest and cause a wave of community panic. But true technical infrastructure isn't about jumping on every single bandwagon that rolls through. It's about knowing exactly when to use a cutting-edge tool to learn and prototype, and when to rely on a proven, visual platform to keep your business running without any friction. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this framework empowers you to build your automations with absolute confidence moving forward. See you next time.